All right, so, like, imagine this for a second. High school kid, right? Not total jock. Except he's laid up after this, well, brutal injury. Baseball.
Oof. Yeah. Tough break.
And we're not talking, like rolled ankle, gotta ice it for a few days. This is life-altering stuff. Like, nobody knows how it's gonna play out, future's uncertain and all that.
Wow. Heavy. So that's where this whole atomic habits thing starts.
Yeah, that was James Clear. And that whole experience, it's like the unlikely launch pad for his whole philosophy.
It's wild how something that seems so negative, can be like the spark for something so insightful. That's what makes his story so interesting, I think. Like he didn't just like bounce back physically, right? He used those small wins every day to rebuild his life, but like in a way he probably never even considered.
Yeah, totally. And he becomes an academic All-American on top of it. Not exactly what you picture after an injury like that.
Right. Talk about beating the odds. Underdog story for sure.
So, all right, how does this atomic habit idea, how does it actually work? Break it down.
Okay, so Clear, he talks about this thing called the habit loop, which honestly, it sounds way more, I don't know, complicated than it really is. It's like, at its core, every habit, whether you're brushing your teeth or doom scrolling on your phone, it follows the same pattern in your brain. Cue, craving, response, and then the reward.
Okay, so walk me through it. Say my cue is like walking into the kitchen after a long day and bam, plate of fresh cookies.
Oh, yeah. You're already thinking about how good that sugary deliciousness is going to be. See, the cookies, that's your cue, triggers that desire. Response is like the actual habit part. In this case, you grabbing a cookie. Maybe two.
And then that feeling, that first bite,
Yeah.
that's the reward.
Exactly. And that's what keeps us coming back for more.
Right.
Little dopamine hit your brain's giving you.
So we're all just chasing dopamine.
Kind of. It's like your brain's reward system, right? Every time you do something pleasurable, dopamine, it's reinforcing, making you want to do it again.
So how do we use that?
That's the thing. That's the hack. Once you know how it works, you can be like, all right, brain, time for some positive cravings. You create cues to trigger those, lead to good responses, and then bam, rewarding outcome. That's where it gets really cool.
All right, I'm listening. Let's talk strategy. What are we doing besides, resisting every cookie plate we see?
Okay, so one of the best things you can do, and people don't talk about this enough, environment design.
Oh.
Think about it. Willpower. It's like unreliable, Instead of relying on that, why not just create a world around you that supports your goals?
Okay, I think I get you. Working with the system, not against it.
Yes. Like, say you want to eat healthier. Instead of that willpower battle every time you see chips or whatever, just move them out of sight. Or, even better, replace it with a bowl of fruit. You're not depriving yourself. You're just making the healthy choice the easy choice.
So, like, little tweaks to my surroundings
can make a huge difference.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works.
And it goes beyond, like, just your physical space, your mental environment, too.
What do you mean?
Think about a time you were crazy productive, like on fire. What was it like? Where were you? What was around you? Even what were you listening to?
You're saying I can recreate that on purpose.
Yep. Our brains, they connect certain environments with certain actions, right? So you design your surroundings and boom, you're priming your brain for success.
Huh. So I don't wait for inspiration. I make it myself.
Exactly. You become the architect of your own habits. Pretty cool, right?
The 2-minute rule. Is that like a life hack for your sock drawer or something?
Well, you could use it for that. But in this context, in Atomic Habits, it's kind of about tricking your brain into just like starting.
Okay, tricking my brain. I'm listening. How so?
It's really simple, honestly. We tend to like overthink things, focus on how big a task is. And that's when we get stuck. Oh, I got to write a whole book or I got to run a whole marathon. It's like suddenly even tying your shoes seems impossible.
Ugh, tell me about it. My to-do list sometimes feels like it's judging me.
Right. So this 2-minute rule, it's like it takes all that and says, nope, it shrinks the habit down, the smallest version possible. Not write a book, it's write for 2 minutes. Not the marathon, it's just put your running shoes on.
So it's about Like outsmarting that voice in my head that says, yeah, not going to happen.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Most times, once you've started, you just keep going. You're already wearing the shoes. Might as well jog a bit, right?
It's kind of funny how easily we can like hack our own brains, right?
Well, there's a reason tons of successful people swear by this. It works.
All right, I'm convinced. Let's say I've got the starting down. How do I keep the momentum going?
That's where rewards come in. And I don't mean like a party every time you check something off your list.
Although I wouldn't say no to a party.
Ah.
I hear you. But for building habits that stick, the best rewards are usually the small ones. Think about it. Why are we all scrolling social media, grabbing another cookie? What's that about?
Because it feels good. Dopamine, right, like we were saying before.
Yes, our brains are wired to chase that good feeling, avoid the bad. So we got to make the good habits feel just as good, if not better, than the bad ones.
Okay, but how? How do you compete with, like, instant gratification, funny cat videos, by finding rewards that are instant, but also they got to line up with what you want long term. So say you're cutting back on sugar. Instead of thinking about better health way off in the future, what if every time you resist the sweets, you have a killer smoothie? Something healthy, but delicious.
Yeah.
So like finding those good things that actually like move me toward my goals, not away from them.
You got it. And it doesn't have to be food, even. Could be your favorite song, a walk outside, calling a friend, whatever works.
I like that. Finding those good moments, but they're also good for me. It's not about saying no to everything. It's making the good choices feel good.
Exactly. You're rewiring your brain, connecting pleasure to the things that are actually good for you.
This makes so much sense. So we've got our environment, the 2-minute rule, these little rewards. Anything else we should have in our habit hacking toolkit? Oh, absolutely. One of my faves is habit contracts.
Habit contracts. Sounds kind of serious.
They can be. Or not, it's up to you. Basically, it's adding in some accountability, either to yourself or even better, with someone else.
Like having a gym buddy who drags me off a couch when I'm feeling lazy.
Yep. Having someone else in your corner, it makes a huge difference. But even just for yourself, a contract is powerful.
So I'm making like a deal with myself. Write out my goals, how I'll do it, maybe even what happens if I don't.
Right. Gives you that clear structure, those guidelines. Especially when you're not feeling motivated, it keeps you on track.
Like guardrails, so I don't veer off the road.
Exactly. And the best part is you can tailor it to you, whatever you respond to best.
Okay, so what are some contracts that like actually work? Because it's one thing to write it down.
So many options. You could do a money thing where if you slip up, you donate to a cause you hate. Or if you're more, I don't know, internally motivated, you hit a milestone, you get a reward.
Ooh, I like that. Maybe if I stick to my budget for a month, weekend getaway.
See? That's it. Got to be something you're excited about.
This is all clicking, but there's one thing that's still kind of fuzzy for me. Clear. He talks about identity-based habits. What's that all about?
Yeah, it feels, I don't know, deeper than just like checking things off a list,
You're totally onto something there. It's about like the story you tell yourself, right?
Yeah.
Who you believe you are.
So instead of I want to write a book, it's I am a writer.
Subtle, but huge difference. When it's part of your identity, you're not trying to write a book. You just are a writer. Every little thing you do, even just a note in your phone, it's all part of that. So it's not like pretending to be someone I'm not. It's more like making my actions match up with, I don't know, my aspirations, who I want to be.
Yes, exactly. Think about it. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you're going to make healthier choices, right?
Yeah.
It's not willpower anymore. It's just living in line with that.
Okay, I can see that. Makes it easier to stick to stuff if it's not a chore. It's just who you are.
Right. Not a should, but a natural part of you.
This is all making sense. But what about those times when, even when you're doing all this right, you still hit a wall?
That's where the Goldilocks rule comes in. Finding that sweet spot, the right amount of challenge, keeps you going, but doesn't overwhelm you.
Stretching without snapping. I like that. Because, we've all been there, right? Crazy ambitious goals, then 2 weeks later, it's a dumpster fire.
Oh, yeah. Classic trap. We think we got to go from 0 to 60, like, instantly. Then we wonder why we're burned out.
So it's not about going all in or nothing. It's finding that pace, that rhythm you can actually maintain.
100%. Think about learning an instrument, right? You wouldn't, start with Beethoven if you've never touched a piano before. You start simple, something that's a challenge, keeps you interested, but you're not going to rage quit on day one.
Perfect analogy. It's that balance, pushing yourself but also being realistic. Mastery takes time.
It does. And celebrating the small wins along the way, those are key. Those tiny improvements, those are the big changes, just over time.
This has been great. Seriously eye-opening. It's like I get habits now on a whole other level.
Yeah.
Not just the how-to, but the why it matters.
I love that. And hey, the most important thing, start small. Little changes, be consistent, and trust the process. It's powerful stuff.
Not about overnight miracles. It's those daily wins, right?
Yeah.
The tiny habits, they add up one step at a time.
That's it. And enjoy it, The journey is important too. Be nice to yourself. You got this.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up this deep dive on atomic habits, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Okay. If I had to pick one thing, it's that small changes, if you do them consistently, they can completely transform your life. Seriously.
Love it. No magic bullet, just those small steps day after day.
Exactly.
And with that, we'll leave you with this. What's one small habit you've been putting off? How can you use that 2-minute rule today to get started?
Even the smallest thing, if you keep doing it, it can have this ripple effect, change your life in ways you never even imagined.
So true. Until next time, everybody, keep diving deep and keep making those atomic changes.